Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how easy it is to choose comfort over challenge, to take the shortcut, avoid the struggle, and settle for good enough? It's human nature. We're wired to seek the path of least resistance. But here's the truth. Every great story, every breakthrough, every success worth having lives on the other side of difficulty. The harder path doesn't just test us, it transforms us. Today, I want to talk about something we all feel but rarely choose, the uphill road, the one that demands more effort, more sacrifice, and more belief, especially when no one's watching, the one that doesn't promise fast results, but guarantees real growth. Because while the easy path may offer quick comfort, it's the harder path that wins, every time. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. When we think of success, it's easy to picture the end result, the award, the applause, the finish line. But real success doesn't live in the moment of arrival. It begins much earlier. It begins the moment we choose a goal that truly matters and commit ourselves to walking toward it day after day, regardless of how steep the climb gets. Success is not a destination, it's a direction. It's a journey built on steady, often unseen progress. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't the ones chasing quick wins. They're the ones who understand that the path itself is the reward. They wake up each morning with clarity, knowing they're moving towards something that aligns with their values, their passion, and their deeper sense of purpose. This is why the harder path wins, because it forces us to grow. It challenges our patience, sharpens our discipline, and refines our character. When we commit to a worthy goal, not because it's easy, but because it's meaningful, we activate something powerful within ourselves. We stop measuring progress by what others see and start recognizing it in the quiet victories, the extra hour of effort, the moment we push through doubt, the choice to stay focused when distractions pull at us. There will be days when the goal feels far away, when no one is cheering, when the work is lonely, and still, success continues to build, not in giant leaps, but in consistent steps. Each effort compounds, each challenge shapes us, and slowly we become the kind of person who doesn't just wish for success, but lives it. Real success doesn't show up overnight. It unfolds over time. And the beautiful thing, the moment you take that first step toward a goal that truly matters, you're already succeeding. The decision to take the harder path, to aim higher, dig deeper, and keep going, is the decision to live a life of real fulfillment. We become what we think about most of the time. Every action begins with a thought, the ideas we entertain, the beliefs we repeat to ourselves, and the vision we hold in our minds. All of these shape the way we live. Whether we realize it or not, our dominant thoughts guide our decisions, mold our habits, and ultimately define our future. So if we're constantly thinking about problems, fears, or limitations, we begin to live within those walls. But if we consistently focus on growth, purpose, and progress, our actions start to reflect that mindset. The truth is, the harder path doesn't start on the ground, it starts in the mind. Before anyone climbs a mountain, builds a dream, or turns a vision into reality, they have to believe it's possible. They have to see it before it's real, and they have to keep seeing it, especially when the outside world gives them every reason to quit. It's not about fantasy or wishful thinking. It's about training your mind to align with your goals so that your thoughts begin to support your actions, even when things get tough. When we fill our minds with meaningful purpose, when we dwell on what could be instead of what isn't yet, we prepare ourselves for the challenges ahead. We begin to expect effort, not shortcuts. We start to understand that difficulty is part of the process, not a sign to turn back. The harder path requires this mental discipline. It demands a mindset that refuses to settle for comfort, because it's too focused on growth. And this isn't something reserved for the elite or the lucky. Every person has the power to direct their thoughts. It begins with intention, with noticing what occupies your mental space. Are your thoughts building your future or blocking it? Are you nurturing belief or feeding doubt? These are the quiet decisions that determine the loud outcomes in our lives. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to take control of what you're feeding your mind every day. Because the person who consistently thinks about progress, contribution, and meaningful goals is already walking the road most avoid, the harder path that leads to real transformation. The path of least resistance leads to mediocrity. It's tempting, incredibly tempting, to choose the easy route, the one that asks the least of us, stirs the least discomfort, and offers the quickest results. It often looks like the smart choice: less effort, faster rewards, fewer risks. But what often goes unnoticed is the long-term cost of that choice. Over time, the path of least resistance builds a life of missed potential, not because we weren't capable, but because we avoided the very challenges that would have helped us grow. Mediocrity doesn't show up overnight. It's the quiet result of decisions made in moments of doubt or fatigue. It's what happens when we stop stretching ourselves, when we settle for good enough, because striving for excellence feels inconvenient or slow, and while comfort might feel like a win in the moment, it slowly erodes ambition. It dulls the hunger that drives people to do meaningful, lasting things with their time and talents. Now let's be clear, choosing the harder path doesn't mean making life unnecessarily difficult. It means choosing the way that leads to growth, even when that growth comes with temporary discomfort. It means understanding that the real rewards, the deep fulfillment, the inner confidence, the personal breakthroughs don't come from avoiding resistance. They come from leaning into it. Every person who's achieved something worthwhile has faced this decision: settle or stretch. Stay safe or take the longer, tougher route that demands more effort but builds more character. And the ones who chose to stretch didn't do it because it was easy. They did it because they knew what was on the other side. And that's the message most people don't hear often enough. The harder path isn't the more painful one in the long run. It may be more demanding up front, but it leads to a life with fewer regrets, deeper satisfaction, and real personal strength. The easy path might save energy today, but it costs us opportunity tomorrow. So if you find yourself facing a choice between comfort and challenge, remember this: every time you resist the urge to take the shortcut, you're refusing to settle. You're choosing to become someone who creates, not just consumes, someone who leads, not just follows, and someone who reaches for their potential, not just their convenience. Discipline and persistence are the keys to rare results. There's a reason most people don't reach the top. It's not because they aren't talented or intelligent. It's because they stop. They start with excitement, maybe even passion, but when progress slows or obstacles multiply, they lose momentum. The truth is, talent alone is never enough. Ideas are never enough. Even passion by itself isn't enough. The people who reach rare levels of success, the kind that leaves a mark, are the ones who stay consistent long after the excitement fades. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. It's waking up early when it would be easier to sleep in. It's practicing when no one is watching. It's saying no to distractions, not because they're bad, but because you have something better to build. Discipline doesn't make things easy. It just makes them possible. It takes all the uncertainty out of progress and replaces it with routine, structure, and steady forward movement. Persistence, on the other hand, is what keeps you going when nothing seems to be working. It's the voice that says just one more step when everything inside you wants to quit. It's the mindset that treats failure as feedback, not a finish line. People who persist understand that every delay, every rejection, and every setback is simply part of the process. They're not thrown off course when things don't go according to plan, because they've learned to expect the detours. When discipline and persistence work together, something powerful happens. You stop relying on motivation to get started. You stop needing perfect conditions, and instead you become the kind of person who follows through. That's what separates those who dream from those who build. The people who take the harder path don't just show up once. They keep showing up again and again until the job is done. And it's not about being perfect, it's about being committed. Even small steps taken consistently can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Because most people stop at the first sign of resistance. Most people give up when it gets uncomfortable. But those who keep going, especially when it's hard, are the ones who achieve the rarest and most rewarding results. So if you've chosen a goal that matters to you, don't expect it to come easy. Expect it to be worth it. The harder path asks more from you, but it gives more back. And when you meet it with discipline and persistence, it becomes the path that changes everything. The crowd follows ease, the few create greatness. Look around and you'll see a world built for convenience. Fast answers, instant results, effortless entertainment. Most people drift toward what's easy not because they lack ambition, but because they've been trained to believe that ease equals success. But the truth is, following the crowd rarely leads to anything remarkable. Greatness isn't found where everyone else is standing. It's found where most people aren't willing to go. The crowd chooses comfort. The few choose courage. The crowd waits for motivation. The few show up with discipline. The crowd wants results now. The few are willing to invest time, energy, and patience. And that's the difference. Greatness is never handed out freely. It's earned in the quiet hours, when no one's watching, when nothing is guaranteed, when it's easier to walk away than to keep building. Those who take the harder path aren't always the loudest, but they're the ones making the deepest impact. Choosing to go against the grain takes strength. It means saying no when others say yes. It means chasing mastery instead of popularity. It means focusing on long-term fulfillment over short-term rewards. And it often means walking alone for a while, misunderstood, doubted, or even criticized. But that's the cost of creating something that lasts. That's the price of building a life that's not average. And here's the beautiful part. The harder path has fewer travelers, but it also has fewer limits. It stretches you, tests you, and ultimately transforms you into someone who doesn't just follow the world, but shapes it. You stop living by default and start living by design. You stop reacting and start creating. And in that space, you find the kind of purpose, confidence, and clarity that no easy path can provide. In every generation, there are a few who choose the mountain over the flat road, not because it's glamorous, but because they understand what it leads to. They know that while the crowd follows ease, the few, the brave, the steady, the bold, are the ones who quietly create greatness. So the next time you're faced with a choice, easy or meaningful, remember, the harder path doesn't just win. It defines you, and in time, it becomes the legacy you leave behind.